Hey again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Wheel of Albums. Along with my brother Adam, our friend Jack, I am Justin. This is the short podcast where we spin the 1001 albums you must hear before you die by Robert Dimery. We spin that album, we listen to it for a week, and then we get back to you and let you know if it's something we think you must hear before you die, like Robert says in the book. This week, Adam spun the wheel, and he spun Led Zeppelin. Which number do you think is it? It's number 3, which I got a copy of right here. Led Zeppelin III. The cool one that you can spin the wheel around. So I used to do a lot when I was a kid.
The wheel, or for purposes of this week's episode, Volvel, spun and landed on Led Zeppelin III. Initial reaction was, I'm gonna know every song on this album. I have to, right? It's Led Zeppelin. We'll find out if I was right or wrong, if I was familiar with these songs.
Sweet hallelujah. The wheel has given us something enjoyable finally to listen to. After listening to Congo music, Tubular Bells, while it may not be my favorite Led Zeppelin album, I'll take it.
My first initial reaction was like, spinning a Led Zeppelin album is playing it too safe, too close to the vest. Had that growing up, my dad had it and everything. So I put it on for the first listen, and Immigrant Song, very familiar. Great song, probably one of the Zeppelin's best. And you get into Friends, kind of like Friends too, like the way that song goes along. I'm outside doing yard work, and it's like 98 degrees, humidity high, and that tone shift between Friends and Celebration Day happens where it's like, let's go, baby. And then I was ready. I'm like, let's do this. I've not heard Led Zeppelin III forever.
Bam, bam, bam.
Growing up in the 80s and being exposed to a lot of Led Zeppelin from the decade before, first song I always remembered was the Immigrant Song. I was under the preconceived notion that it was on their first album, which I was wrong. Silly young Justin. What is the first Zeppelin song you guys remember hearing?
Probably is an Immigrant Song, like you, Justin. I'm thinking it's probably Stairway to Heaven. Biggest memory is constantly wanting to listen to Misty Mountain Hop and putting that on Dad's record player all the time. A big memory was the Led Zeppelin III album cover because of the way it spun, and you could do, it was kind of interactive, so that always pops into my head too.
I think sometimes we'd listen to Led Zeppelin IV and just play with the Led Zeppelin III album cover, Adam. Jack, what's your memory?
I want to say Dancing Days, although I can't pinpoint why. And Stairway to Heaven. SCTV had a skit where they did a parody of a K-Tel record where they had every famous singer sing Stairway to Heaven. So the K-Tel album was just multiple cover versions of Stairway to Heaven. I think they called it Stairways to Heaven.
When you look at their first 4 albums, 1, 2, 3, and 4, what do you guys think, like in a family relationship, how would you describe Led Zeppelin III compared to its siblings?
Led Zeppelin III is the most important Led Zeppelin album. I might not feel like it's my favorite. I think Led Zeppelin IV is, but I feel like it is just so different than the other, 1, 2, and 4. Because of that, if it was one of the siblings, I would say, like 1, 2, and 4 are all the jocks, and 3 is saying, no, I'm artsy. I'm going to do my own thing. I don't need to be popular. I'm an introvert. It was an album they had to make after such, 1 and 2 were just so popular. They had to try and do something different.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Adam. 1, 2, and 4, the ones that get the parents' attention the most, while 3 is off just doing its thing, and probably once it graduates from high school goes and, just camps in Maine for, a year and nobody hears from them. And, then when 3 comes back and, everyone's like, are you okay, 3? And 3 is like, I'm fine. I just needed space. Just had to go find myself. It's better for the band in the long run.
Well, you have almost twins in Led Zeppelin 1 and 2. And those are loud, proud. Everybody knows them. 4, the baby of the family, but is following in the footsteps of the older sibling, but secretly taking a lot of influence from what we'll call the middle child, Led Zeppelin III.
Oh my gosh, Led Zeppelin III is the Jan Brady of albums.
Quiet, brooding, ultimately very successful through its methodical perseverance and its intricacies. But everybody's successful in their own way. And that's what the wheel or the Voville is all about. Vovelle.
I kind of always skipped over Led Zeppelin III. So Out on the Towels is great. And there's really this huge trifecta of that. Gallows Pole is fantastic. And then Tangerine is my highlight. It's always been my favorite song on all of Led Zeppelin III. Probably in my top 3 favorite Led Zeppelin songs of all time.
I like the way this album's sequenced. Kind of ebbs and flows back and forth. Between Friends to Celebration Day, I love that. Celebration Day is an underrated gem by Zeppelin. I think Since I've Been Loving You gets the blues down right for the first time for the band. And that's nothing against Babe, I'm going to leave here. Those blues workouts they had from the first couple albums, they pale a little bit in comparison to Since I've Been Loving You. It works here. It simmers like a great casserole. Gallows Pole, Tangerine, that's the way. I enjoy a lot more on Led Zeppelin 3 than I don't.
And on my first run through, I was surprised. I go, well, this doesn't sound like I expected it to. And you just become more and more happy with what they're doing here compared to what in my mind was the Led Zeppelin sound, because I hadn't really distinguished this part of it. It almost, in my mind, went from Led Zeppelin II to Led Zeppelin IV. And the transition seemed natural, but this really lays it out, what they were doing. Just a couple side notes. Adam had asked about Since I've Been Loving You. It just starts off, and you don't know if you're going to like it. And then by the end, it is wrapped its tentacles around you so much that it pulls you in, and you wonder if Robert Plant is going to lose his worried mind, or whatever he calls it throughout the song. It is a little bit long, but that seems natural.
Yeah, I'll stick with what I said earlier too, Jack. I think Since I've Been Loving You is one of the highlights on here. There's a reason they played it so much in concert, I think, after, if you look at their set list. If I had 2 weak spots for me, if they would have got rid of Out on the Towels and Hats Off to Roy Harper and made it an 8-song album, I would love Led Zeppelin 3 even more.
The low light for me of the entire album is Since I've Been Loving You. I struggled to get through it. The first time it was all right, but I just kind of feel like that's a dud. And I know that's going to be a very unpopular opinion to that song, but, I just kind of felt like it was flat.
By not putting on Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? This was the B-side to Immigrant Song. And Hey, Hey, What Can I Do is not on the album. That song was very familiar to me. DV played the heck out of that one. But let's go with that as the low light, is the decision to exclude a very good song, Hey, Hey, What Can I Do?
Okay, so what we do is we looked at all the songs on the album, rated them to a scale of 1 to 10. And we all scored very similar. Adam a 7.2, Jack a 7.13. I scored a 7.05 for what Adam says is our second highest rated album yet. Led Zeppelin 3, right behind British Steel. Favorites, Immigrant Song, Gallows Pole, and Tangerine. Our least favorite, Hats Off to Roy Harper. Wonder what Hey Hey What Can I Do would have done. Jack, what you been up to?
I conducted a straw poll, because what does Led Zeppelin mean to the youth of today? It seems the vast majority of the youth, at least in Weirton, where everybody's, the pulse of society is based in Weirton, are familiar with Led Zeppelin. People telling me about, people wear Led Zeppelin shirts, Alice in Chains shirts, and Nirvana shirts. And then I asked, well, are they just shirt wearers or are they listeners? Alice in Chains. Most of the shirt wearers are also listeners. Led Zeppelin and Nirvana rated as more of a shirt wearer than a listener. They're not necessarily sought out, and they're not necessarily making it onto the kids' Spotify playlist.
That's another Wheel of Albums straw poll.
Old Woodsy's man on the street with his finger on the beat.
So do you listen to Led Zeppelin 3 before you die? I'm really torn on how to decide on this. Come to appreciate Led Zeppelin 3. I think it might be their most important album out of all of them, as far as, solidifying them. Just feel like Led Zeppelin 3 is that if you're a true fan, you're really going to deep dive and really enjoy these guys. But at the same time, they have such a huge amount of albums. I don't know if this is the one you recommend to say, hey, if you want to hear Led Zeppelin, I think you, like, for me personally, you go to Led Zeppelin 4. I'm going to say no, even though I really, really like this album, and it's grown on me. But if you really like Led Zeppelin, then you have to listen to this, if that makes any sense.
Adam, I see and respect your conundrum as far as Led Zeppelin 3 goes. Led Zeppelin 2, per se, was to be spun. I would probably not have looked forward to it as much as Led Zeppelin 3 or Physical Graffiti. This is an album that is its own statement. It's kind of where the band, got away from those first two albums, tried their own thing, and it worked. That actually helped them down the road. So yes, I think Led Zeppelin 3 is something you must hear before you die. There was work done to this album at Ardent Studios. If you remember from our Big Star episode, some of that same type of magic is found here too.
All right, you're going to be swinging from the gallows pole. Should you pop some earbuds in and listen to Led Zeppelin 3? Yes. It actually convinced me while I was listening to it. I think this is such an important transitional record to let you know that they, as a group, kept on transforming and working on their sound to become more Led Zeppelin than they already were.
Yeah, arguably one of the biggest bands of the 70s, Led Zeppelin 3. We are running short on time. Jack, give that wheel a spin for our next album.
All right, I'm giving the wheel a spin as a follow-up to Led Zeppelin 3. Lou Reed gets to take a second bite at the banana. Peel it and listen to the Velvet Underground and Nico 1967 debut album, produced, air quotes, by Andy Warhol.
Down at the factory. For Adam and Jack, I am Justin. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. We'll see you next time on Wheel of Albums. In the meantime, go have yourself a tangerine.
And that's what the wheel or the Beauville is all about. Beauvelle.